Cybersecurity starts with compliance. Compliance is basically a set of regulations that either a government agency or an industry dictates, and it's basically just a guideline for like the basic steps to take if anything ever was to happen, if your network was to get compromised or your organization was to get breached. Cybersecurity compliance is kind of in place to kind of give everybody like a cookie cutter um, like protocol for addressing some of these issues because they come up a lot. The thing about it is people always say, I don't want to get hacked, I don't want to get hacked, I don't want to get hacked. Well, everybody at some point, especially if you're like a big organization or a small organization, you're going to be the target of some type of attack, and some are going to be successful and some are going to be unsuccessful. But it's really going to be on your security teams to kind of shore up everything for your organization and make sure that not too much data is compromised. And even if there is data that is compromised, that you at least have enough data backed up to where business, can continue to run and maintain, as opposed to that attack or that breach taking down your whole network and stopping your business. Because anytime business isn't going, money isn't being made. So that's a big part of IT security and cybersecurity in general is just, being able to keep the business afloat under duress. Hey, what's up, Nigel? So, yep, you came in right at the right time. We just started. So, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity compliance. Cybersecurity compliance is basically what I just said. The business world is rapidly changing and becoming more data driven and technologically advanced. Whether it's hardware or software, organizations must leverage information technology to improve their operational efficiency, gather more data for analytics, and empower their workforce. So this is really just kind of like a call to action for information technology in general when it comes to an organization. New industry standards and regulations regarding data and cybersecurity have made compliance more challenging for organizations. That it has because there's more attack surfaces. It's harder to maintain because nowadays organizations touch so many parts of the internet and so many different applications, and like any application that gets compromised, especially with everything being in the cloud, that can ultimately turn into your organization getting compromised just in the face of them holding your user data. Remember the scenario we kind of used back in our networking course where it was like you're basically just putting your books in somebody else's bags, whenever you're using cloud data and they're carrying it to class. But yeah, so that makes it a little bit more challenging. However, cybersecurity compliance is a driving force behind any organization's success. Compliance is not just a checkbox for government regulation, but a formal way of protecting your organization from cyber attacks such as distributed denial of service, phishing, malware, ransomware, and more. And we'll get into exactly what everything is. Like a DDoS attack is when they're sending a bunch of packets, so it ultimately, overloads your system and you're not able to access like a website or something like that. Phishing is just them sending an email, somebody sending you a fake email, like I'm a Nigerian prince, and I have you won the lottery, and we need you to send a social security number, and we can send you the money from the lottery, something like that. Malware is like me injecting some type of malicious software onto your device that's gonna be like a remote software or like something like a mouse clicker, or it could be something maybe even to shut your computer down or install some other type of whatever I want on your computer. Ransomware is where they send you something, you might click on something, and now you don't have access to anything on your computer. So it's locked basically behind an encrypted page, and there's usually a message asking for money to be sent somewhere or Bitcoin to be sent somewhere. So ransomware, you've probably heard about that a lot recently. A lot of companies are getting hit with that. I think there was like a big oil company or something that got hit with a ransomware attack, and a lot of times companies won't report this stuff. They'll go ahead and just pay the ransom because they don't want to have that dirt on their face, basically indicating that they've been breached or they've been hacked. They like to keep a lot of this stuff hush hush. You can go on YouTube and different media outlets, and there's different communities where they talk about this type of stuff. Like Darknet Diaries is a big one where they talk about the ins and outs and kind of the nitty gritty of how a lot of these cyber attacks are pulled off. Any organization working with data, which is a majority of them, or that has an internet exposed edge, must take cybersecurity seriously. Accessing data and moving it from one place to another puts organizations at risk and makes them vulnerable to potential attacks. So any type of moving of data, like files moving through Teams, Outlook, sending emails, you sharing something with SharePoint, all of these create risks and they create attack surfaces for potential attackers to not only gain information but actually run attacks on your system. At its core, cybersecurity compliance means adhering to government standards, adhering to standards and regulatory requirements set forth by some agency, law, or authority group. Organizations must achieve compliance by establishing risk-based controls that protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information, the CIA. So a lot of this you got to kind of think like, what would an NSA agent do? What would a CIA agent do? If you kind of think about how to protect data and how to maintain, some type of confidentiality, then definitely always think CIA. Like CIA, they're the best at it. So, if you can try to mimic some of those practices, then ultimately you'll be, look, my location is coming on. Yeah, the CIA, they listening right now. I just saw my my location pop up. Yeah, all right. So the information must be protected, whether stored, processed, integrated, or transferred. Cybersecurity compliance is a major challenge for organizations because industry standards and requirements can overlap, leading to confusion and more work. Which is true. You may have an industry regulation, and then you may have, some type of government regulation, and they may be contradictory. The government may be telling you to keep certain type of logs, and the industry standard may be not to keep logs. And if somebody was to breach your site or your organization, that's probably the first thing they're going to look for is some logs. So, we already kind of talked about this. No organization is completely immune. Yeah, everybody can get hacked. Small or medium-sized businesses can be a major target because they're considered low-hanging fruit. And I've actually seen this in real life where I've worked for like smaller private companies that are like kind of mom and pop shops. And we used to get a lot of attacks all the time. It seemed like we were always getting some type of phishing email. Somebody would download a link from something somewhere. Like we had a lot more. We were targeted a lot more, obviously, as a smaller organization than the place where I'm at now, where we do have, attempts, but it's not at the same scale that it was there. And like my job was basically to go through phishing emails all day and kind of say like, this is phishing, this isn't phishing, but also people were reporting phishing at a high rate too. We had a set of protocol in that organization where if people thought that it was a phishing email, then they could just press a button. It was like know before in Outlook, and it would send it through Postmaster to Mimecast, and Mimecast would give us a notification, or Postmaster would give us a notification from Mimecast as well. So Mimecast gave us a lot of notifications, and then also know before. I think know before was what they used to actually notify us through Outlook. So some organizations have that in place, some don't. We don't have that in place right now where they kind of report it just through forwarding us the email manually and just saying, hey, is this a real email? We'll get emails from anybody, and they'll ask us because everybody at this point has heard about, breaches and things like that, and they're on their toes. They're on their toes for the most part. Not to say that things still don't happen. Things still happen, but it's better to be aware and have a plan of action in place. In the United States, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency has identified 16 critical infrastructure sectors and that are most important to protect because a breach could be a debilitating effect on national security, the economy, health, public health, and safety or more. So what they're basically saying, this is like critical infrastructure. So critical infrastructure would be critical infrastructure is everything. Power, IT itself, like cybersecurity itself is critical infrastructure. Large manufacturers, large agriculture. If something were to happen to like one of the largest, say one of our agriculture like companies or like farms, one of the biggest farms in Texas gets hacked, and now they can't fulfill orders because they can't ship anything. Like that would be something that's critical to the infrastructure of that particular location, or to the economy of that particular location if it was all dependent on that farm to produce. So that is, and it's like that in some places in America where whole industries kind of make up the economy for the town or the city. So it's always, those are the things that outside attackers usually, government agencies will sponsor, foreign government agencies will usually sponsor cybersecurity experts and researchers to perform these attacks on like our critical infrastructure and stuff. This isn't necessarily something, this is more so on the line of terrorism as opposed to like somebody sitting in their mom's basement trying to fish a company for some Bitcoin. Small to medium-sized businesses may not prioritize cybersecurity or cybersecurity compliance. This is very true. Making it easier for hackers to exploit their vulnerabilities and execute damaging, costly cyber attacks. According to a 2020 Cyber Readiness Institute, this is kind of old, but only 40% of small to medium-sized businesses implemented cybersecurity policies in light of the remote work shift during ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the ongoing pandemic. I think during the pandemic, since it kind of caught everybody off guard, yeah, there probably wasn't a lot of security practice put in place then, but definitely over the course of the past 3 years, I think more organizations have shored up their networks and also have been more aware of like cybersecurity compliance because there have been a lot more attacks. You hear about it more and more every day. This is the new battlefield, honestly. Like people are going to war overseas, but people are also going to war on these networks and trying to find, breaches and trying to find little vulnerabilities or things that they can breach to, gain sensitive data or deny services. So, yeah, you always got to be compliant, especially if you're a small business, because if you're a small business, you're an easy target for anybody who's looking to do anything. So a lot of times with small businesses, if they're not on top of like billing or their finance department or payroll, people can create users and they'll be getting payroll to these users for years. They'll be getting checks, they got into the system, set up a user, and they've been paying this person for so long and nobody knows who they are, but it's like, it takes time for people to find stuff like that. Have been instances of like a guy scammed Google for millions of dollars. He was sending them fake invoices and saying to pay this vendor for this service. And it was so believable that they sent this guy millions of dollars. These organizations, their billing departments, accounting, payroll, that's the main target for a lot of these actors and a lot of these hackers. And, if you don't have somebody in there who can verify or who can at least analyze, like, is this a real vendor? Is this coming from a real domain? Was the domain, made a couple days ago? Or is this something that we've been interacting with for a while? These are things that your cybersecurity team is going to know a little bit about. They may not know everything, but they will be able to track down, like, whether or not this is something that's real or not. At least a good one should be able to. If you're paying people, they should be able to figure out, is this a phishing email? Is this legitimate? There's certain things that you can check, like DMARC and DKIM. I think we skimmed over that a little bit earlier, and those are just different verifications for emails. But yeah, you also have software that's aiding you, so it's not like you're just making these decisions based off of your own knowledge. A lot of times, like, these softwares will give you a good idea of what's real and what's fake. This is the type of data subject to cybersecurity compliance. Most cybersecurity and data protection laws revolve around sensitive data, including 3 different types: personally identifiable information, financial information, and protected health information. Personally identifiable information, PII, is like date of birth, first and last name, address, social security numbers, and maiden names. And a lot of this information, guys, is stuff that is out there. Like I could find this information on you guys for less than $100 or less than $50 right now. It's all information that we've given up freely, and a lot of these data collection sites and data brokers have all of this on all of us. Like you can pay $4.99 on the internet on the clear web. It's not something that you got to go on the dark web or Tor for. You can go on Google Chrome and literally find somebody's social security number for $4.99 on some of these sites. So I'll show you guys a little bit later how to scrub some of that information. I need to do it myself. Doing this course has helped me as well as it's helped you guys, because it kind of shows me that I need to even step up on my own compliance, my personal compliance, because you don't want your personal information out there for everybody to see and everybody to access, because bad things can happen. So definitely going through and taking care to scrub some of this stuff off the internet. You can do some of it for free, and then there's other options to pay for them, and I'll give you both. Other types of sensitive information may also fall under these compliance requirement laws. So here you see financial information, credit cards, numbers, expiration dates, and card verification values, bank account informations, debits or PINs, credit history or credit ratings, protected health information. So that stuff may be a little harder to get. That's something that you may have access to, like once you have access to an actual device, or an email, maybe like if you have access to somebody's email, you may be able to find out like medical history based on the email and stuff like that. Race, religion, marital status, IP addresses, they can track your location, email addresses, username and passwords, biometric data, fingerprints, facial. Yeah, my mom got a lock for the door this past week, and it has a biometric scan for your fingerprint. And I thought about doing it, but then I thought about how it was storing my fingerprint, because I'm like, I don't necessarily want this to be, I don't know if they have any type of data brokerage agreement to where they broker your data, or if they even just secure it securely at all. So that was something that I just kind of was like, no, I think I'll just keep using the PIN code. I don't know if I want to put my finger on there for the biometric. The benefits of compliance: you can protect your reputation. So your companies, like I said, a lot of companies don't report it when they get breached. They kind of just pay the bill because they want to protect their reputation, especially if they're a tech company. They maintain customer or client trust. That's just a prerequisite. Builds customer confidence and loyalty, helps identify, interpret, and prepare for potential data breaches, and improves an organization's security posture. Many of these benefits can directly impact an organization's bottom line. Like I said, like with tech companies, if you're Google Cloud and if you're a Google Cloud service like Google Drive, and Google Drive gets hacked, I might take my stuff out of Google Drive, obviously, if I'm a consumer. So I have to be able to trust that platform to put my information up there. It's widely understood that a positive reputation, garnering customer loyalty and confidence, and maintaining trust are critical factors that lead to success. Aside from these benefits, maintaining cybersecurity compliance can improve an organization's security posture and protect intellectual property like trade secrets, product specifications, and software. All of this information can help give an organization a competitive advantage. It can or it can't. I mean, sometimes when your stuff is open source, a lot of times open source is more like if you're a software company, open source may be more secure because you have people constantly going through and debugging it. But also, if you are somebody like Apple is somebody who, on the other hand, if you're a big organization on that level, then keeping some trade secrets and product specifications to yourself may be advantageous. How to start a cybersecurity compliance program. Basically, if you've gotten this far, you may be wondering how to start a cybersecurity compliance program within your organization or just within your home. Some of this stuff that I'm going to give you later is going to be personal. Just because, I recently had somebody try to dox me, kinda. and they did a lot, man. But ultimately, I'm gonna come out on top. Like, I do this cybersecurity stuff, so it's like I just do IT period. So it's never, it's like poking a bear. Honestly, you should you should never poke a bear. It may seem like a daunting task because there's no one size fits all approach. However, following the 5 steps below can help you start developing your compliance program to reap the benefits and meet regulatory compliance requirements. The compliance team and risk management process and policies are all part of this. So this is just some things that you can use moving forward. You want to create a compliance team in your organization, meaning you want to dedicate people to making sure that your company is up to date on compliance in your area, for your industry, and for your government. Your organization's IT team is the primary force for cybersecurity compliance. Forming a compliance team is necessary when implementing a thorough compliance program. While teams typically handle most cybersecurity processes, general cybersecurity does not exist in a vacuum. In other words, all departments within an organization need to work together to maintain good cybersecurity posture and help with compliance measures. So, if you guys have ever played sports, you always hear you're only as good as the weakest link. You're only as good as the weakest link basically means that you may have every type of bell and whistle in your organization as far as cybersecurity and compliance is concerned, but if little old granny who doesn't know how to sign in and out of her account, who's about 65, 70, around that age of retirement, if she doesn't know not to click on that link saying that she won the lottery, then all that is null and void. So you have to keep updating and educating your organization and the people within it so that they can stay compliant as well, because if one of them slips up, then it's going to be a lot more work on your end to try to remediate the situation, when it all could have just been handled with regular training and common best practices being implemented in your organization. So create a compliance team. Setting up risk analysis process. Although naming conventions will vary by compliance program, there are 4 basic steps in the risk analysis process. Identify any information systems, assets, or networks that access data that must be identified. Assess, review data, and assess the risk level of each type. Rate the risk of all locations that data will pass through in its life cycle. Analyze, use this analysis formula to determine risk, likelihood of breach, impact, or cost. Set tolerance aside to mitigate, transfer, refute, or accept any determined risk. So yeah, as you can see, there's a number of different things that you can do to analyze your risk, and this is something that over time you're going to get better at. But in the interim, like if you're a system analyst or something like that, they're not going to necessarily ask you to do this. This is something more of like on a consultation basis, or like maybe your senior manager would do something like this, or somebody who heads like the security team of your organization. You would maybe help in a lot of this, but for the most part, they would put everything together to present to execs, and basically to execs. Execs are going to want to see it. They're going to be most interested in what you have to offer as far as your cybersecurity for the year coming up. So that's something that they would mostly handle. How to start a cybersecurity compliance program, setting controls, how to mitigate or transfer risk. The next step would be to set up security controls that mitigate or transfer cybersecurity risk. A cybersecurity control is a mechanism to prevent, detect, and mitigate cyber attacks and threats. The controls can be technical controls such as passwords and access control lists, or physical controls such as surveillance, cameras, and fences. And I'm glad they brought up physical control or physical security, because physical security is a part of cybersecurity. If you have like a server room or somewhere where you're storing different servers and different networking equipment, you probably want to have that set up like a man trap. You want to keep everything behind like locked doors, or have biometric blocks to ensure that people who aren't part of the organization can't just walk in willy-nilly. These are all part of cybersecurity. So don't think you're just trying to stop people online who are behind a computer, typing up code every 5 seconds. Like, that's not what it is. It's not like, all the easiest way for you to get breached is physically. That's probably going to be the first mode or method of cyber attack of attack. Period. I'm not gonna say cyber attack, but it's probably gonna be physical before it's anything like just over the internet. Somebody's not. These people, the way that they're hacking nowadays, it's not like you're getting these people. It's not like a genius is sitting behind a computer somewhere and they're creating their own malware and deploying it and trying to infiltrate your system that way. They're trying to get you to click on a link with a phishing email, or they're trying to get you to enter your information somehow through email. They're trying to just go ahead and tailgate somebody through a door or something, or act like they're swiping a card and access somewhere that they're not supposed to access in the organization. This is what people are really doing. They're kind of just trying to look inconspicuous and walk in your organization without raising any alarms or red flags, and seeing jiggling doors and seeing what's open, trying to grab some mail to get some information. Like, these are things that people do, like pen testers as well as threat actors. These controls can also be, so the different type of controls outside of just the physical controls can be encryption. So you have two-factor authentication. How strong is your password? Do you have a convention for passwords that's easy to guess? Do you reuse the same characters and letters and numbers over and over again? Do you use the same passwords over again? Network firewalls. Do you have a firewall set up for your organization? Do you have a firewall set up on your router at home or for your personal use? Password policies. That's what we just kind of talked about before. Cyber insurance. So cyber insurance is basically backing up your data somewhere, backing up critical information somewhere. So in case of a ransomware attack, you can still access information somewhere else. Employee training is important. People have to know not to click on certain emails because that's how they're going to get hit first. There was an exploit in Teams not too long ago where people are sending messages in Teams looking like people inside the organization when realistically they're an outside actor. So you gotta watch out for a lot of things, man. You gotta watch out for everything. Incident response plan. So what are you gonna do if something was to happen and one of these users downloaded something? Do you kick them off the network? What are you doing? Access control, patch management schedule. So patch management is basically just basically like if you have a bug, then patching it is what they call like securing the bug or like hardening that surface. You're sending out updates, basically a patch to patch whatever bug there is. So demands for these controls is high, meaning plenty of cybersecurity solutions are available that can help you with this step. For example, privacy and security, visit the NIST 853 risk management framework. So this is just a framework on the site, and I'll give you the resource for the sites that I pulled this from. These are basically copy and paste, honestly, from the CompTIA A+ compliance course. So a lot of this stuff is coming directly from the CompTIA A+. I wanted to kind of keep it consistent with the course, and it gives you a good baseline of information, to kind of understand what it is. So the last two compliance programs that we'll pretty much go over, or how to start, the last two steps are creating policies. Know that the controls are in place. You must document any policies. Documentation is huge. I probably need to do some documentation after today because I found a bunch of new things, and it's just poking around, but it's annoying to have to relive it when you go. So this is what happens. You'll figure out something quirky will happen within your organization. Like today, this lady's computer timed out every minute, basically, like every 60 seconds, her computer would go to sleep. And any tech, for the most part, is going to say check your control panel and check your power options. Well, the power options seemed all to be good. I set them for like 30 minutes, just to be clear, just to be sure. Like they were set for like 3 hours, and I was like, maybe 3 hours before it goes to sleep is too long. Maybe it has problems. So I set it to like 30 minutes, just to see. I formed a theory, I tested it, and the theory ended up being wrong. So I had to think a little bit deeper. So when I was on the control panel, there was an advanced option for advanced settings on your power options. And I was able to click that, and when I clicked that, I saw that the back screen, the monitor would time out. Basically, the power would go off. There were a couple more steps involved in this. Like I changed the docking station before that because I thought it was a docking station. She already had new monitors, so I was like, it can't be the monitors, can't be the docking station. And then I realized, oh, whenever it disconnects from the monitors in the docking station, the actual computer goes black. So it's obviously going into sleep mode, some type of hibernation, whatever. So ultimately, I had to dig a little bit deeper than the conventional control panel and power options. I had to go through the advanced settings. So that's something that for later, if somebody was to have that, one-off weird issue, they don't have to spend time like I did trying to figure out, what the problem is. It didn't take that long. It took like 5 minutes, but at the same time, that's a 2-minute job, if you know exactly what you're looking for. So, or 2 seconds really. Monitoring and a quick response. So you always want to have some type of monitoring system in place, like we spoke about earlier, CyberArk, Sentinel-1, what else? There's a bunch of other different monitoring like Norton, McAfee. You can monitor your networks pretty regularly. You can use Meraki. It's crucial to continuously monitor your compliance programs as regulations emerge or existing policies are updated. The goal of a compliance program is to identify and manage risks and catch cyber threats before they turn into a full-blown data breach. Yeah, if you can catch it on one computer before it creates persistence on the network and quarantine that computer, to keep it from creating anything else on the network, you just have to drop it from the network, drop it from the domain, all of that. And you can do all of that remotely. It's also important to have business processes in place that allow you to remediate quickly when attacks happen. So every business may have a different process, but you just have to understand that there should be some type of something shouldn't happen and then everybody's running around with their heads on fire wondering what's going on. Like if something were to happen, you should already have this stuff in place so there is no panic. People can kind of understand what their risk tolerance, and then you can definitely confer with the client and make sure that they are on the same page with you and that they aren't panicking and running around with their hair on fire if something like this were to ever happen. So here are some just common standards, common IT security frameworks and cybersecurity standards. Information security management encompasses many areas from perimeter protection and encryption to application security and disaster recovery. IT security is made more challenging by complex regulations such as HIPAA, PCI DSS, Sarbanes-Oxley, and global standards such as GDPR. All these are just different standards. So HIPAA is for health, PCI DSS is for payments and credit cards, Sarbanes and Oxley, I forget what they're for. Let's see. Is a federal law, auditing and financial regulations for public companies. So lawmakers created the legislation to help protect shareholders, employees, and the public from accounting fraud. So this is for the Wall Street and those kind of the financial sector. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Legislation. It is a European Union law that came into effect on May 25th, 2018. GDPR governs the way in which we can use, process, and store personal data, information about an identifiable living person. And this is just in Europe, so this isn't something that we have to worry about over here unless we are, people in Europe are using our services. How to remove personal information from the internet sources for free. So these are just some sources or just a way for some of you guys to, if you are interested in getting rid of your information online, You want to opt out of data brokers and people search sites, and I'll give you some resources after this to show you how to exactly do that, because I know that's kind of vague. Um, Close obsolete or unused online accounts. So yeah, definitely if you have any cloud subscriptions, I know I have a gang of cloud subscriptions that after I changed my credit card, they're all hitting me up now for money, and some of them are not going to get any money. I'm going to close it down and definitely tighten up on that, because that's a big part of, somebody can guess your password for one thing. A lot of times people reuse passwords. I say probably 90% of people reuse passwords. So um, yeah, if they guess it for one site and now you use the same password for 6 different sites, it's just a now I just got to find your search history or see what guess what are you visiting. Just downright try to guess what you're visiting, or go to certain main sites like social media and things like that. So and that brings us down to tighten privacy on social media accounts. So don't keep the same password for social media accounts. I'll say this: a long time ago, so in 2017, I remember I got hacked for the first time. I had just got home from the NFL, and I had a blue check back before you could pay for it. So this is the OG blue check. This is like you're a celebrity blue check. And my page was doing pretty well. I didn't have like a crazy following like a lot of guys that were in my similar position, but I had the blue check, man, and I got hit with a phishing email one day. I was going through my junk emails and I clicked on a link, and this is obviously before I was, really aware with, IT and cybersecurity. I was, a young guy, like 22, 23. I'd never, heard of a phishing email outside of like, the generic corny, you won the lottery email. So, I wasn't thinking, clicked on the link, entered some information thinking it was a recovery password or a password recovery page, and boom, socially engineered through a phishing email to give up, and I think it was my Facebook that got compromised. So it really was it was my Facebook information, and then at the time my Facebook was linked to my Instagram. So I ended up having to make a new Instagram, because back then Facebook and Instagram didn't have any type of support. There was no number to call. There was nobody other than getting people to report your page if something happened. There was no way to get the page down. So I was never able to recover my account. But that's neither here nor there. You always want to make sure that you don't reuse passwords, because honestly, if I didn't reuse my password or didn't link my password, link my Facebook and my Instagram, none of that would have happened. But yeah, just be careful out here. Be careful what you're clicking on. Be careful. Make sure that account recovery page that you're sending your information to is a real account recovery page. Make sure that the person who's sending you the email, look at the domain. Does the domain match the company that's sending it to you? If it's Dropbox, is it Dropbox R or Dropbox _USA or something that looks similar to Dropbox but isn't Dropbox? So you got to be careful and aware of those things. Remove personal information from Google. I'll show you guys how to do that. Engage privacy settings on browsers and search engines. And then these are the links pretty much to how to remove personal information from internet sources. Incogni.com. You'll end up having to spend some money here, but they'll do pretty much everything that we just listed for you. You can go to Consumer Reports, and this will give you a way to delete your information from people search sites like truthfinder.com and other people search sites that have basically all your information for a very low price. Like you could go on Truthfinder right now, look up your best friend and find their date of birth, their maiden name. You find all of that information, all the PII that we just talked about, all that information is on there. People Finder. There's a gang of different sites that you can just look people's information up. And then this is just a USA Today site, a USA Today blog about how to remove your personal data. It's relatively recent, so it'll give you just a little bit more information about how your data is being used and how to scrub it from the internet. So if you're interested in cybersecurity, I think a good project for this week is to actually go through and utilize some of these services, man, and try to get some of that information off the internet that you wouldn't want people to use against you, because information is king now. It's gold now, and it's basically the currency for how we operate today. You get a lot of free services through these subscriptions, and you're thinking it's a free service, but on the back end, they're selling your information and making money. Anytime something is free, always understand that you're the product. When they're offering something of value to you for free, your eyeballs, your information, your data is ultimately their currency, because they're able to utilize that to sell to advertisers, and advertisers are able to use that to send you a better targeted ad to separate you from your money. And that's basically the gist of it. When it comes to cybersecurity, man, you want to protect the integrity of yourself. You want to protect the integrity of the people around you, because that matters just as much as protecting yourself. Like I said earlier, the weakest link is ultimately the measure of your performance over time, because if somebody slips up, now we all have to go to work and make sure that we can mitigate this risk. So, yeah, that's all I have right now for compliance. We got about 40 minutes of good info. Not next week, but on Thursday, we'll go over a little bit more about how to break into cybersecurity, and then go over some more fundamentals. Ultimately, in this week, you're not going to get everything that you need for like a job in cybersecurity right now, but I'm definitely going to do a course. After this course, I'll do another course going over 10 weeks of cybersecurity, or it may not be 10 weeks, but I'm trying to decide now what the optimum, amount of information is, because it's a lot of information to cover, honestly. And I'll probably base it off of the Security Plus. Not even probably, I will base it off of the Security Plus, because I have the test. And so if you're interested in that, stay tuned for that one. It'll be in development, right after we get done with this one. So I appreciate you guys for coming on today. Definitely, stay in touch, stay in tune. If you guys need anything to do, like as far as projects and, quizzes and stuff, definitely use the resources on the syllabus. And I'll see you guys on Tuesday, man.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
I know you said that there's a way to scrub your information from the internet, like how you said, you can do some thorough scrubs.
Yeah.
But how you said you could do password, of course, don't use your same password across the same platforms or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to, your phone, like Apple, usually they kind of do a automated password for you. Would you think that's a safe way to do things? Because I've yet to hear of an iPhone being iPhones do get hacked, but
yeah,
as for the way they come up with their, passwords, would you think that's a safer way to do it?
Yeah, I do think generating a random password is better than having something like back in 2012, Trump's Twitter after that, it's maybe 2016. Trump's Twitter got hacked, and his password was like, "You're fired." People kind of make dumb passwords. You kind of make passwords that you'll remember, so they're relative to like your life. So yeah, generating a random password is definitely good. Having a password manager separate from actually having to remember all the password information that you're putting in, so that you can generate random passwords, is even more important. Like, there are different password managers out there. LastPass just got hacked. But there's like Google, there's a bunch of them out there. So having a password manager, I think, is even more important than just remembering your passwords or even making up your password yourself. Because if you have a password manager, then unless your password manager gets hacked, which is anytime you store something in the cloud, you're storing it in somebody else's backpack. But you gotta hope that their backpack is a little bit more secure than your plastic bag. Because right now, if we're securing our own networks, we're using plastic bags, compared to them using, cardboard. And then the government's got a book bag, because they stuff still leaks too, So nobody has a safe, ain't nobody out here with a safe. But the best way to do that, man, especially like password management, bro, get a password manager. You can look up like top 10 password managers. and you can put them on your phone. You can put them on your computer, on your like it's just a little extension on your browser. What else? You could do like two-factor authentication, so you could have multi-factor authentication using Google Authenticator, and I think Microsoft has its own authenticator as well. So yeah, man, look into that stuff. Look into Google Authenticator. Look into a password manager, something like LastPass. Um, Not LastPass, but something. Well, I'm not even gonna say not LastPass. You know, they got breached, but you know, like everybody says, they say no user data got taken, but who knows? Who knows what the extent of it was? Um, you know, but it's safer than just having it something that I can guess. Like, Nigel, what's the top five things? You know, what's the top five subjects or things that you like? You know, somebody can just go on Facebook and guess that. What's the
Yeah,
color?
yeah,
Like, what's your family member's name? You know, what's your favorite color? What's your birth date? You know, there's a list of like, it's like a rainbow key of, you know, the top 1,000 passwords that people use, and you can just run through that list, and you'll be surprised at how many people have these dumb passwords. How many people have admin password as their password, or have, you know, their name with a couple numbers or letters behind it. Like it's ridiculous. You know, it's ridiculous. You know, people really don't practice, and it's crazy because it's people in power, people in these large organizations, people who you wouldn't think would um, have such weak passwords. But you got to think these people in power are older. You know, they don't want to go through a million different pages to sign up. They don't want to go through a text message, find a code and put it in their computer, or go through their email. Or they're not trying to do all that, man. They're trying to get in, access to service or information, and then they're trying to get out. So that can leave your organization susceptible. That can leave you susceptible. You know, if your mom or your grandparents or somebody gets hacked, you know, your information, they probably got a screenshot of your birth certificate on their phone or something. Like some type of personal information of yours, they probably got screenshotted on their phone somewhere or in their notes, you know. So,
all right.
yeah, man. But yeah, definitely check out some of these links too. So, Incogni is definitely a link that you can do for, that you're going to have to pay for. They have some type of subscriptions, but there's a couple of them. There's stuff that you can do for free as well. So, but yeah,
Okay.
do some, you know, hop in there, do some research, do some more research, man. Do some learning, man. You feel me? Outside of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it. You got any questions, Leander? If it's all good, man, I appreciate you guys.
All
Until
right. Thanks, bro.
Tuesday. Yep. I'm gonna holler at you. Bye bye.
All right.